financial management. This is the fun part. Now we're going to talk about violations and all that fun stuff. Communication. I cannot stress this enough, and I know it's the #1 grievance that all of you board members have. I can't get my property manager to call back my resident. Haha.
And they never send me information. It takes them 2 days to get back to me in an email. Maybe 3, maybe a week.
I need an immediate answer right now. Okay, so here's how we're going to say. Remember earlier when I talked about this, leveraging your entire management company. Again, your property manager is absolutely there to answer these questions, to help your homeowners, and to be able to give prompt responses. But also, if everything gets funneled to one person, it's going to have some overflow. So please make sure you're reaching out to our Homeowner Solution Center. Please make sure that you call our main line or go onto our website. Vanica is a great resource, but so is heritageproperty.com. There is such a wealth of knowledge on our website. We hope that it's helpful to all of you. And if nothing less, pick up the phone. We'd be glad to talk to you.
Yeah, you always want to encourage homeowners from a position of positive information as opposed to what are you doing wrong. And very often when you give them that information, you can also give them the clue that this is actually in their best interest. It's not necessarily just what the association wants, but in terms of their property and its value.
But conflict resolution is by far one of the hardest things. It's difficult for us, so I know it's difficult for you, especially when you're sitting down. Chet, oh my gosh, it's been such a long day. I haven't seen you. How's your day been? And all of a sudden, walking up to the table is your next door neighbor, Bob. Bob's mad because...
You guys made a decision.
No, somebody pooped in my front yard.
That's it. We're hoping it's a dog. Anyway,
we are hoping. No, so we understand that being neighborly means that sometimes the privacy aspect gets gone. So what we want to be able to do is be able to create these situations where in that instance say, hey, if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to finish eating my dinner. I want to hear what you have to say. Send me an email. Get it in writing. Or ask to have a private meeting. Here's the thing about design guidelines. Initial use restrictions are in your covenants. They're in your declaration. Okay? They may not necessarily say initial use restrictions. They may be underneath your architectural guidelines or your architectural control, and they may be vague as all get out. And you're probably like, it says fence, cool, must submit a plat. It's
yeah.
You can have a pool as long as it's not above ground. Well, that's not a whole bunch of there's not a lot of specifics there that kind of guide us. Design guidelines cannot contradict something that does not give the board or the association authority. Meaning, if it says no parking on the street or no overnight parking in the clubhouse parking area, you can't put parking is allowed so long as it's within a 24-hour period. That's conflicting information from your governing documents, and when you're in front of a judge, they're going to look at what your declaration says, not your design guidelines. And I'll also say this, your design guidelines are only further to explain what's already existent, and if a violation letter is sent, the verbiage that is the document reference is never the design guidelines. It should always be the declaration. So in the previous slide, it talked about enforcement is intended for abatement. It is not intended to recoup extra income. It is not intended to have a perception or personification that the association is any specific kind of way when it comes to a negative impact with the authority of enforcement.
Side rule, do not budget for fines.
We definitely never recommend budgeting for any late fee income, although we know we're going to get it. And we definitely don't recommend that if your governing documents allow for the authority of fining and you have a fining policy that has been published
In place.
to then be able to collect those assessments for fines, we definitely don't recommend that. But I want to make sure that you heard what I just said. It's not enough for your declaration or your bylaws to say that you have fining authority. If it says that you have fining authority, it likely says the fees and fines can be imposed by the board of directors based on their discretion. The unfortunate part about that is when we're dealing with enforcement issues, selective enforcement is oftentimes a very, very big issue, meaning I'm going to choose to tell you that you get a letter for having leaves in your lawn, but not you because I'm best friends with you, so I don't want to send that because I'm like super cool. But then this next person, I'm going to go ahead and send them a letter because I really don't like them.
Or they're new and they don't care.
Okay? First off, keep any emotion of discussion out of any email, period, the end. If there is a decision that you are making, but based on any type of code enforcement provision, keep it based on what the document references and the specific violation, nothing else.
And never, under any circumstances, even to another board member, put anything like she just said
In writing.
In writing, ever. So at the end of the day, we've preached about this a lot from several different angles. Whatever change you make to whatever documents that you use on your associations, please publish them as quickly as you possibly can and document the fact that you've published them.
Our intention for notifying the homeowners about compliance or an enforcement issue is for abatement. We suggest no longer than 48 hours. If you've spotted a violation, captured it on film, no more than 48 hours before you have to go back out and take a new picture. There is, with every single letter sequence, there are responsibilities for time requirements, possible hearing requests, information to be requested, and oftentimes for abatement or fining to stop, it's not the property manager that has to validate that the violation has been taken care of, it's the homeowner. The fines will continue until the homeowner supplies proof. And then once the homeowner supplies proof, then the property manager or the board of directors or the committee can go out and do it. Now, we do have some associations that have a violation committee or a compliance committee. Here's what I'm going to say to this. I don't recommend those simply because your homeowners now, committee members potentially, have access to information that is very sensitive in nature. And typically, that information is always reserved for a board of directors. And this is a tricky one because a lot of associations have self-help or abatement. So I want to let you know that those are the terms that you're going to see, self-help or abatement within your declaration. And the declaration is going to tell you what the self-help requirements are because there's typically a notice that goes in there that says, hey, we have the right to come on your property. Gosh darn it, we don't want to, but we have the right to make this repair or to put back, restore compliance from this one item. Okay, that's what self-help was. Some association documents have should and some have shall.
Shall.
And the ones that have shall, I tip my hat to you because that can be very difficult at times because it's hard to figure out which ones that you're responsible as the association to take care of. So oftentimes I recommend, if you do have self-help capability, of also creating a self-help policy.